It is important to study the life of an author, a poet, or writer because there are important influences that shape their personality, and these influences leave an indelible mark on their personality and impact their creative work as well. So, today we will do a biography, a short note or a lecture on the biography of Sarojini Naidu. I'll quote what she wrote to inspire the countrymen of India. As long as I have life, as long as blood flows through this arm of mine, I shall not leave the course of or the cause of freedom. I am only a woman, only a poet, but as a woman, I give to you the weapons of faith and courage and the shield of fortitude. And as a poet, I fling out the banner of song and sound, the bugle call to battle. How shall I kindle the flame which shall waken you men from slavery? Unquote. How beautifully through this quote she has tried to inspire her countrymen. So there is this one person whose contributions have made a lot of difference for women in a country where they are simply considered as caretakers or nurturers. So, the poet and politician Sarojini Naidu is the one who took up the cudgels on behalf of women and tried in her own way to empower them. She was the first female governor of an Indian state and the first Indian woman to be the president of the Indian National Congress Party. Sarojini Naidu was born on February 13, 1879 in Hyderabad to the Chattopadhyay family. Her father was the founder and the administrator of Hyderabad College, which later came to be known as Nizam College. Sarojini married Govindra Julu Naidu at the age of 19, which was an intercaste marriage, and in those days, such marriages were unheard of. They had 5 children, including their daughter Padmaja, who herself was a voice in the Indian freedom movement. She later went on to become the governor of West Bengal. That is her daughter. As far as a political career was concerned, Sarojini Naidu was a very prominent figure as a woman in Indian politics. She had joined politics after the partition of Bengal by Lord Curzon, Viceroy of India, in 1905, which had affected her deeply. She met Gopal Krishna Gokhale, through whom she came into contact with several prominent faces of Indian freedom struggle, including Mahatma Gandhi, Jawaharlal Nehru, Rabindranath Tagore, and Annie Besant. She was urged by Gokhale to use her intellect for the cause, and she dedicated herself to politics and the Indian freedom movement, taking a respite from writing. In 1916, she fought against the British for the rights of farmers in Champaran, Bihar, who were forced to grow indigo instead of the food crops that they had required for their survival. She also went to England as one of the members of All India Home Rule Deputation as a delegate in 1990. In 1925, she joined Congress Party and presided over in the annual Indian National Congress session and was the second female president of the same after Annie Besant. She took over authority in East African Indian Congress in South Africa, and then she participated in the Round Table Conference with Mahatma Gandhi and Madan Mohan Malviya. One of the major aspects of Sarojini Naidu's role in India's freedom struggle was during the Salt Satyagraha, where she participated with many women protesters in Gujarat. As her literary career is concerned, she was a very bright student, and she had begun writing fiction at the age of 12. And her father, after she had aced a matriculation exam, wanted her to be a mathematician, but Sarojini Naidu expressed a desire to be a poet, and she wrote a poem by the title of Lady of the Lake, which impressed her father, and he went on to encourage her work. She was subsequently granted a scholarship to study overseas. In 1905, her first collection of poems was published under the title The Golden Threshold. Later, her poems collection The Birds of Time and The Broken Wings were published. Both attracted wide readership in India and England. She also wrote essays and articles about her political views and the women's rights issues in India. Sarojini Naidu is one of the most celebrated poets of India, known for her lyrical and the musical nature of her writing. She used many rhymes and meters which filled with rich imagery, and this earned her the title Nightingale of India. What was Sarojini Naidu's role in women's rights movement in India? She played an important role in the women's rights struggle in India. She helped in shaping an association called the Women's Indian Association in 1917 with Annie Besant and others. This association sought equal rights, including the right to vote and represent. She presented the need to include more women in Congress and in the freedom struggle. During 1918, British and the Indian feminists, including Naidu, set up a magazine called Stri Dharm to present international news from a feminist perspective. She traveled to different regions in India to lecture on women's rights, the social welfare of women, and nationalism. A contemporary poet Bandyopadhyay quoted, Sarojini Naidu inspired the Indian Renaissance movement and had a mission to improve the life of Indian women. Apart from her role as a poet, governor, and a women's rights activist, she had many achievements. She was awarded the Kesar-e-Hind Medal by the British government for her work during the plague epidemic in India, and the name Kesar-e-Hind literally means Emperor of India, and it was given to any person without distinction of race, occupation, position, or sex, who shall have distinguished himself or herself by important and useful service in the advancement of the public interest in India by the British monarch. She followed Gandhi's non-violent protest and travelled around India for the same. She is also regarded as the first person to hoist the Indian flag on an international platform in the US of America and England. For her selfless contribution during Indian freedom struggle, she was appointed as the president of INC. She died on March 2nd, 1949, and until her death, she served her role as the governor of the United Provinces in Agra and Awadh. Sarojini will live on as the major contributors in India's freedom struggle as well as the women's rights movement.